Hello YouTube, it is Cuber. I am finally delivering for you a tutorial that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. And this is going to be a tutorial on the new robotic effect, which I guess I haven't formally called it like Robot 2.0 because I didn't really have a standard before. I sort of just applied buzzy effects to videos and just said, hey, it sounds like a robot, so I called it Robotic. So, I mean, maybe this is Robot 2.0. It would be a fitting title, but you know, I just call it Robotic as well. Now, this version of the effect is much more involved than the previous versions. The previous versions of the effect, I would basically just try to put a buzzing, echoing effect on a video, and I would say it sounds like a robot, so here it is, it's robotic. This time, with this effect, I am actually taking advantage of music theory. I am using the musical pitch of whatever logo I am working with and the musical pitch of the echo that I want to impart on it, and I'm trying to match them so that it actually sounds like the buzzing is in tune with the logo itself. So I will be talking about that more. This is primarily an audio effect. I have a video effect to go along with this that is meant to look like the video is playing on an LCD screen to sort of go with the robot theme, but obviously you don't have to apply these two effects together. I mainly show you how to do these effects in case you want to incorporate them in whole or in part into your own effects. So I'm going to start with the audio effect because that is where we are going to have the bulk of our intellectual discussion on how this effect is constructed. Now, the video that I am using for today's tutorial is the Ava Nippon video logo. This is a logo that is in the pitch of C, and I'll just play that for you unedited so you can hear what's going on. Now, I am able to pick out the pitch of this just by listening to it. Some people are able to do that. If you're not able to do that, then it should be easy enough to maybe Google a certain musical piece or short piece that you'd like to edit and determine what the pitch is. The only drawback is that it absolutely, positively will not sound great with voices, because voices have variable pitch, as you can see here. I am not speaking in monotone. I don't know what you're talking about. Largenschmee. Sorry. Okay, so we have our unedited audio. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this project 48,000 hertz. So I'll resample this to 48,000 hertz. This doesn't really matter. It's just a quality thing. So what I am going to do is I say I would like to have an echo that repeats at a certain frequency such that it matches the tune of this logo. And this logo is in the pitch of C. So what I do is I go to our friends over at Wikipedia and I look at the frequencies of the note C. And we have all these different frequencies. And what I'm going to do is I'll go into my calculator. Now, eventually what I'm going to do is I will be putting an echo effect in Audacity with a delay factor that's somewhere around 1/100th of a second. So, for example, I find that C3 has a frequency of 130.813, which means that the sound waves in this particular pitch go at 130.813 times per second. Now, I'm not going to be applying the echo in times per second, I'm going to be applying it in seconds. So I have to just take this number and divide it, or I guess take the reciprocal, so 1 over 130.813, and we get a number that is 0.0076445, which means if I wanted to apply an echo at this frequency, I would set the delay factor to be this number of seconds. Now, I usually aim for something that's close to 0.01, somewhere in between 0.01 and, I don't know, maybe 0.005. You can see that if I take the higher frequency C, then this is a little bit too low. The delay factor is too small. If I took the one above it, then it's a bit too large. So we're going to go with C3. We're going to set the pitch of our buzzing sound to be C3, but it's not going to be perfect, and I will get to that. I'm going to go back to Audacity. We know that the frequency that we want is this one here. So I'm going to now apply an effect. I'll apply echo. I will set the delay factor. I'll go to my calculator, and I will copy this number in, which I can't do, as you can see. I will try to type it in, 6445. Yeah, it won't even let me type it in. So I'll just show you the next step. I'll skip to the next step, I guess. So I want to put in this delay factor. This is if I want the pitch of C, but I can't make that perfectly. And I don't want to just approximate it, because I'll show you what happens. I'll turn this up a little bit and play it. So there is a buzzing, robotic sounding like effect, but the buzz and the actual musical pitch of the logo itself are not quite in line, and I want to fix that. So you'll notice when I applied echo that I used 0.008 because that's the closest I could get to 0.0076445. I also should just mention now that the decay factor should be 0.9. That makes it sound buzzing without making the audio too terribly loud. But now I want to show you the part where I actually correct for the fact that the delay time is limited to thousandths of a second. So I'm going to undo the echo. So what I'm going to do to fix this issue where the buzz and the logo are not quite in tune is I'm going to slightly change the tune of the logo itself. So I find, I got rid of my calculator. Let me bring that back. There we go. 130.813. So I want to change the pitch. I want to lower it a little bit. Now, if I have a note that is this frequency, 130.813, this is just a plain old C note. What happens if I take the delay factor that I have in my echo effect and I divide it, or I divide 1 by it to get the reciprocal? I get 125. So 125 is a little bit less than 130.813, and I expected as much. So if I want the pitch of the logo, which is originally in this pitch, 130.813, to be in line with the buzzing effect that has a delay factor of 0.008 seconds, then I want to lower the frequency such that 130.813 becomes 125. So I am going to change the pitch of this logo such that anything that plays at a frequency of 130.813 changes to play at a frequency of 125. This isn't a big change, it's less than a semitone, so this is going to sound more like it's playing in B, and we're going to apply that. And let's listen. And that sounds a little bit more in line with the buzzing, so I'm going to apply that again. The delay time is 0.008, the decay factor is 0.9, and let's give it a listen. And now you'll notice that the actual musical pitch of the logo itself sounds like it's at the same pitch as the robotic buzzing that we added to the logo. So this is good, this is what we want, and this is definitely a challenging effect because it requires some math. Essentially, I'll just summarize it. What we're doing is that we are trying to find an echo that goes at a pretty high frequency, low delay between echoes, somewhere between, like I said, maybe 0.05 or 0.005 and 0.01 seconds. And the challenge just comes from the fact that we can't always apply the delay factor exactly what we want, because Audacity is limited to putting in delay factors in increments of thousandths of a second. So we need to use music theory to sort of correct the pitch of our input video and then apply the effect. And obviously, if you want to play around with this, if you don't care about the pitches being perfectly in sync, they don't have to be. You can add the effect with any pitch you want. Maybe you can make some interesting discoveries about the logo if you play it at a pitch that doesn't seem to match, and then later on it does. But this is how I do it. This is the music theory kind of thing that goes into it when I make this effect. So we're good on the audio effect. And if the logo was playing in some other pitch, you would just use the table of pitches for some other musical note. So like, I think I've done logos in G before. I would maybe, let's see, what if I did 1 divided by 195.998? That's pretty close to 0.005. The closest we could get is exactly 0.005. So I would then do 1 over 0.005, that'd be 200. And then in my Audacity, I would change the pitch such that 195.998 becomes 200. Then I would apply a delay factor of 0.005 in my echo effect. Okay, I won't go on about the audio effect too much longer. I'm going to move to the video effect. This is a little bit less intellectually inspired, but it's still, there's some fun things I do with this. So I will first just take care of making this video widescreen. So I'm going to allow it And I'll actually show you why I'm allowing it to stretch out like this. Let's keep increasing the size until we don't have any of this on the side. Maybe 110. Okay, that looks nice enough. So I recently, maybe I'll move it a bit to this way. Yeah, this looks a little better centered. So recently I found this pretty cool effect that I like called Elastic Scale Filter. And essentially what this does is it's a filter that lets you stretch a video such that it goes from a full screen format 4:3 to a widescreen format 16:9, but it applies some variable stretching so that things that are closer to the middle are reproduced more accurately to the video, the ordinary video. So I disable all these effects, and you can see that, you know, the letter V looks exactly like it does when it's not full screen, and the letters A on either side look mostly the same until we get towards the end. So this is normally meant because people are looking at the middle of the screen anyway, so that's where most of the attention is, and the other things get a little bit distorted, but that's okay. But, you know, this doesn't really contribute to the robotic effect. This is just something I've been doing to convert old full screen videos to widescreen. I'll actually get into the video effect now. So let's see, how do I do this? First thing that I am going to do is I am going to pixelize the video. This is pretty straightforward. The only thing I will say is that I have to do some fancy footwork here with block size X and Y. We see that the two block sizes are quite different, 70 versus 100, but the pixels are nearly square. And the reason why that's the case is because this is a widescreen video, so if you actually set these to be the same value, then the pixels will be the shape of your video, a 16:9 rectangle instead of a square. And I want square pixels, and I also don't want them to be quite this big. So usually what I do, I think, yeah, the smaller number should go on top, is I usually set this to 27 and 48. And this makes perfectly square pixels. You can still see the video underneath it, but the pixels are definitely pretty strong here. Now, you don't have to make it this size. If you don't want square pixels, you can obviously mess around with either numbers. If you want perfectly square pixels in Kdenlive and you're working with a widescreen video, you just need to make sure that the ratio of these two values is 9:16. So if I wanted them even smaller, I could do just the numbers 9 and 16, then you can barely see the pixels. If I wanted them a bit larger, I could do something like 18:32. Those are certainly more visible. I usually do 27:48. Now we're going to add that LCD effect. We're going to try to make this look like it's on an LCD screen. So I'm going to add the effect curves, and I'm going to add this effect twice, and I may have to mess with the order of them, but the first thing I'm going to do, actually, before I apply curves, I'm going to add invert. Okay, yeah, pixelized, invert, where I actually like these colors with just the way they are. I'm going to disable pixelize for a sec. Honestly, I think that just looks cool. I might use that for something, that bright pink, that teal, that peachy orange. I'm inspired now. I'm glad I'm doing this. But I digress. You guys want to see the video effect? I'll get to the video effect. Okay, so I've added my pixelize, I've added invert. Now I'm going to add my curves. And we want the video to be mostly green and greenish, bluish. So what I do is I set the hue. I set this curve to modulate the hue of the video. And I'm going to change this handle here so that the hue cannot be any greater than 0.6. So this forces any color that has more hue than 0.6, which is turquoise plus a little bit of blue, to be limited, as we can see here. And now I'm going to do the same for the other side here. I'm going to take the left side and I'll drag this all the way up until it equals 0.4. So now we've strongly limited the hues that are in our video, and all of the hues are some shade of turquoise, maybe a little bit more on the blue side, maybe a little bit more on the green side. And this weird buggy thing going on here where it's green and blue, that's okay. Now we don't want the colors to be too bright or completely gray. So I'm also going to add, actually not saturation, I'm going to add curves again, but I'm going to change the saturation. So I'm going to set the channel to saturation. Usually what I do is I set the lower limit to be 0.25. So I drag the left side up a little bit and then I change its value to 0.25. The upper limit I usually set to 0.5. So I'm going to set that to 0.5 here. And it looks pretty good. I would say at this point I could probably be done. Sometimes I add another curves effect and I change the limits of the lightness if I want it to be brighter, or if I want to, make it darker, which I usually don't. I usually like it to be pretty bright, but I don't think I need to do that here. I think I'm done. You can mess with the values of saturation if you want. You can mess with the values of the hue if you want. I just think that this combination of hues and saturations is good for making a video that looks like it's on an LCD screen. So that's it for the video effect. That was it for the audio effect too. So there you have it. That is the new version of the robot audio effect, which I guess I unofficially call Robot 2.0. This is an effect I'm very proud of because it really involves some intricate knowledge of music theory, and I think that the fact that I can match the pitch of my input source and the buzzing effect makes it sound better in general. So I hope you like this effect. Feel free to ask any questions you want in the comments, and I am happy that I finally was able to deliver this to you. Thank you all for your patience, and have a good day.